Today we are going to talk about nurse lingo. So this is the stuff that nurses say to each other, not in the chart, not in front of the patient, but this is like a, hey, this patient is a blank blank kind of situation. Warning, this is pretty insensitive stuff. This isn't something I would sit in front of a nursing class and tell people to use these terms. But I want you to be aware of what nurses are actually saying at the bedside. It helps you know what they're talking about. But it also, one of the things I've noticed in nurse lingo is it is really insensitive. It is not the kindest stuff. It's certainly things you won't say to the patient. But I realize that we have these sayings, and I think it's ways that we cope with seeing trauma all the time and seeing patients die and in these really intense situations. And I think that this, when we can quantify and use these words that kind of make it not as intense constantly, it makes it easier for us to cope with them and be objective about the situation so that we can do our jobs. So that's my caveat about, hey, this isn't like the nice stuff, the fluff, the perfect things to say to patients by any means. This is like nurses communicating with one another. Pretty insensitive sometimes, but that's just what it is. All right. Another note, I recently learned that side parts are not a thing anymore. Why? I don't understand. But you children these days say, I have to do a middle part, which I did. And this is my first, you can see my gray hairs. But apparently I'm supposed to do middle parts. And skinny jeans are out. Just got used to those, so really not okay with that situation. But I thought I'd try the whole middle part, and I don't hate it. I just would like your thoughts. Do we like the side part? Do we like the middle part? This is just new for me, but I want to look like I know what I'm doing, so help me out here. Okay, let's get started. DFO. What does DFO mean? This is how it's used. All right, that patient was at Chili's and they DFO'd. They were at church. DFO. DFO. Done fell out. All right. That means the lights were on, the patient's awake, and then the lights are off. They've suddenly lost consciousness. When I worked in neuro ICU, patients DFO'd all the time. Like that was why they came in. They had an aneurysm rupture, a massive stroke. Maybe they had a tumor growing for a long time and all of a sudden it starts pressing on something it really should not press on. And then all of a sudden DFO, they done fell out. Same thing with cardiac ICUs. Those are patients who have a sudden massive cardiac event. Done fell out. All right, the next one is FOS. Full of That's what it is. We have patients, I hear this mostly in the emergency department where patient comes in, severe abdominal pain. That's a pretty big workup, right? Lots of different things because there's a lot that can cause abdominal pain. And one of the most common things that they're going to do is, unless the patient's pregnant, they're going to do an x-ray. And then you can just see when they are just full of shit. They're very constipated. You can see it clearly on an x-ray. So if a patient is constipated, you may hear physicians and others say that patient is FOS. Okay, the next two kind of are similar. DRT means dead right there. That's kind of like when you're a nurse and you're getting report and the patient, this nurse is going off, you're going on, but the patient has not been brought down to the morgue yet, or maybe the funeral home has not come to get them, and that there is a dead person right there, and you're responsible for making sure they get to where they're going. That would be a DRT situation. Or I've also heard it where the patient is almost like they're practically dead because of all the things that we're doing to keep their heart beating. They're pretty much dead right there. So you may hear it in that sense too, their DRT. And that kind of goes into the next one, which is FTD. Fixin' to die, okay? That means the patient is that patient who has coded, we get them back, and then like 10 minutes later they code. You code them, you get them back, and then they code again. And they're just like, it's like they're getting ready to die. Also, this is like interesting when you have patients, especially in critical care, on all the pressors, on all the vent and everything. Sometimes the patients, They're not awake. They're not conscious of anything that you're aware of, but they're fixing to die. They're getting ready to die, but it's like they're waiting for that last loved one to get there and hear their voice, and then they'll just die, kind of thing. So, and that's a real thing, by the way. I talk to hospice nurses. That is so a real thing. So FTD, fixing to die. Next one, these are all related to death, I'm realizing, is DC to JC, or a celestial discharge. So DC to JC, DC means discharge. We use that all the time. DC, discharge. JC is Jesus Christ. DC to JC. So that's one of the, so the way you're going to hear that is, there's a lot of times you get on shift and you have a patient who is getting ready, who's FTD, they're getting ready to die, or fixing to die. And we know it, it's expected. This happens often in a hospital. Patient came in with something and their injury or whatever it is not survivable, and they will probably pass on your shift. So, but the thing that people I don't think realize is we as a hospital have to plan for that, right? Because that patient is occupying a bed. And when they pass away, like when they need to have a nurse taking care of them, right? But then when that patient passes away, we have to have a little bit of time before we can do the postmortem care, get them down to the morgue or to the funeral home, and that all process takes time. Then we have a bed open. And so you have to know, like, okay, do we think this patient is going to pass during this shift? So what I hear at most of the time is in like shift change, or when we're trying to plan for the next shift in terms of which patients have which nurses and whatnot, they'll say, okay, bed 15 is probably going to be a celestial discharge today. So that's like, I'm not discharging them home. I'm not discharging them to a facility. We are discharging them to the morgue situation. Next one, train wreck. If we call a patient a train wreck, that means everything that could be wrong is wrong. And as a nurse, you're going to have so much to take care of, okay? So if a patient's coming out from the ED, coming from another unit, and they're a train wreck, that means that they've got, all these issues. It's not like they had one surgery and are recovering from this surgery. It's they had surgery and they have a low blood pressure and they have a low hemoglobin and they have pain management issues, and then they're not peeing and there's all these issues that are going to simultaneously need your attention as the healthcare provider. So that's a train wreck. Opposite of that would be a walkie-talkie. Walkie-talkie means the patient can walk and talk, which is an anomaly in the healthcare world. Like if you get a patient who is a walkie-talkie, that is a gift from the Lord, let me tell you, because usually those patients just have some pills they need an assessment, they're good to go. If they need to go to the bathroom, they can go to the bathroom. They don't need like staff to walk them there. It's a wonderful thing. So if you can report like, yeah, I got 3 walkie-talkies today. Hallelujah. That is wonderful.
Hallelujah.
Next one, road test. If a patient goes on a road test, that means, okay, patient's getting discharged, but we haven't really gotten them up to walk them around to see if they're doing okay. But like all of the other medical pieces look fine. Labs are good, pain is good, vitals are good, but we haven't gotten them up in 2 days, or maybe haven't gotten them up since surgery. So we're going to do a road test to walk them around the unit to make sure we're okay to go home. Last one is a MEMAW. I don't know if you've ever heard of a MEMAW, but that is a term of endearment for an elderly woman. Like a grandmother, or like patient population of elderly women. And that is what a MEMAW is. All right, so we had DFO, FOS, DRT, FTD, DC to JC, celestial discharge, walkie-talkies, train wrecks, road tests, and MEMAWs. Thank you very much, guys. Those are all my nurse lingos that I would love for you to learn. So the next time that you're on the unit and they say one of those, you know exactly what they're talking about. And if you want more tips, more fun little stories and information from the bedside, I would love for you to sign up for my email list. There will be a link to that underneath this video. And I send out information like this once a week. So thanks, guys.